happy to be here today. This has been a great sharing. And I almost, there's advantages and disadvantages to being at the end of the day because I've heard many of the same comments that I wanted to make. So you may hear me say ditto as I may bring up a few key points. But hopefully, since we've had the advantage of hearing some great stories from some of the previous speakers, I can maybe zero in and spend a little bit more time on some other examples that haven't been brought up yet today. So I was going to give a little bit about John Deere, and I want to talk a little bit about energy efficiency from a facilities engineering standpoint, from a process standpoint, employee engagement, and a design standpoint, and then a few concluding comments. So a little bit of background on John Deere. We just celebrated our 175th anniversary last year. We provide products and services for not just the green equipment, agricultural and forestry, also the yellow equipment, construction, and for lawn and turf care, landscaping, and irrigation. We also are a manufacturer of off-highway diesel engines, and we have one of the largest equipment finance companies in the U.S. So I really, if you can see that whole first sentence up there, I really like sometimes with John Deere, everyone just thinks of the green tractor. And I really like this when you think about, as a company globally, we have quite a diverse portfolio of product lines and applications. We have equipment that essentially loads, hauls, pushes, digs, grades, rakes, and applies a variety of materials, and they harvest, all cut, process grass, crops, and trees. We have over 100 different machine forms with over 1,000 different applications. This is just a global view of our manufacturing facilities. So last year, our revenues were a little over $36 billion. We have more than 55,000 employees, operations in 35 countries, and roughly 70 manufacturing facilities. So let's take that big view of the world down to Iowa. Iowa is really a kind of a microcosm of what Deere is doing in the rest of the world. So if you look just at what we have on the screen for Deere in Iowa, everything that's listed on the left are Deere products that are produced here in Iowa. And they cross from our agricultural division to our construction division to our engine division to our finance headquarters. So the state of Iowa is really, it shows the full footprint of what Deere has globally. We have roughly 13,000 employees in the state and almost another 13,000 retirees, also in the state of Iowa. We have over 1,500 supplier contracts and 117 John Deere dealerships in the state. And our major manufacturing facilities are Des Moines, Waterloo, Ottumwa, Dubuque, and Davenport. So energy is vital to John Deere. I'm going to focus the comments today really on our facilities. But when we look at, I'm in the corporate office, I also have climate strategy as well, we really look at this holistically from what our suppliers need for energy, from our facilities to our products, and then our customers. Because when we look at the life cycle of our products, they have internal combustion engines, and fuel consumption is one of our biggest environmental impacts of our products. And then also customers globally. It's a natural resource constrained world, and so our energy efficiency thread goes all the way throughout our complete life cycle, but I am really going to focus today on our facilities. So one of the things I had a manager tell me once, never give anybody more than 3 things to remember. They'll never know more than 3 things. So a little bit of structure that's different. Brad mentioned that he is in the purchasing. Did you say you were in the purchasing function? So I am aligned with, within John Deere, our environmental function. And so, and Deere is also perhaps not as energy intensive as a building materials manufacturer, but we are still have facilities that demand quite a bit of energy. So the 3 things that I always try to tie together is that greenhouse gas reduction equals energy reduction equals cost reduction. It's as simple as that. sure in any message, in any communication that you're making, you've got stakeholders that are on each side of that equation, and you've got to tie that all together for them. And our environmental sustainability strategy, that ties in the greenhouse gas reduction. Our business financial metrics and what we can do to help our operating budgets and our margins, that ties into the cost reduction. But if you look in the middle of that equation, how do we help both sides of that equation? It's all through energy reduction. So it's a big message, big push for our energy community, is we make sure whatever we say, whatever we do, whenever we're showing results, we're showing all three across the board. So it's a little dusty here, and I'll give a little background. Our prior energy manager retired from John Deere with more than 30 years of service, and at his retirement, they brought out this print from the John Deere archives that was from 1932, and it was actually from one of our facilities in Moline, Illinois, and it was a print on how to be more aware of energy at our factory at that point in time in 1932. So there were guidelines related to compressed air, and if you had a leak in your line, how much that was going to cost you. If you had an open window, how much that was going to cost you. And this was a very mean, like, winter warlock that was going to come in if you left your door open and what that could cost you. And at that point in time, we had a powerhouse at that facility, and the archive print had, this is our energy cost, and it's only a pup, meaning it's just going to continue to grow. So this was, we sit and talk about when did John Deere's energy management program start, and it's a fantastic work for a company that you've got this type of history from an energy management standpoint. Our formal energy management program really started in the 70s and the oil embargoes. And when you look at where we've gone back to from tracking and records and how we're doing, then you're getting into the 1980s from where we've got corporate records and where we can see our performance and focus on energy supply and prices. We started greenhouse gas inventories in 2003, and we've set a global greenhouse gas reduction goal in 2007. And we are about to launch a new suite of goals that will include energy as well next month. So within our factories, and I'm sure every facility here is the same thing, but we try to make sure that we're always raising this awareness. When we're talking about your energy usage, some of it's fixed. Doesn't matter what the level of production is, that's fixed. The other half's variable. And we can't always look at our facilities to contribute to all of the energy savings. We also have to look at production and operations as well. And so at Deere, we have a mature program, but that's still probably something that we're still working on. What's the best way to be integrated on the production side? And we've talked a bit earlier on where the different opportunities lie. So we have an executive environment and energy product sustainability council. They are the ones that help us set our goals and want to know what projects need a little advocacy and how they can help. We have an enterprise energy and climate community of practice. So you mentioned an energy portal. We have an internal webpage with our resources. We have regional energy teams because energy issues, whether you're in India, whether you're in Mexico or in the US, the issues are going to vary. And that's probably one of the biggest things from an enterprise standpoint. You see a great project happening in Europe where energy prices might be much higher than they might be in another area of the world that we're in. And you're like, that's a great project, we should do that everywhere. And then you just can't get the ROIs in other areas of the world. Regional energy teams has been a more effective approach for us. We also have unit energy champions. It doesn't sound like ours is anywhere as formal. As Brad had mentioned, ours are people wear multiple hats. They're primarily in the facilities, maintenance, or environmental areas. But those are our people who help drive the goals the reporting, and are working with our facilities organizations on long-term project plans. Typical energy efficiency projects, I listed those here. You know, we still, you know, sometimes you sit in meetings and everyone just wants to talk about, you know, I don't know, the solar or the renewable projects or these really exciting sounding projects. You know, there are still opportunities in lighting and HVAC and motors. And it's almost, sometimes I sit in meetings and I'm afraid to bring that up because it almost sounds like, oh, well, you're not progressed past those traditional energy ones. But technology is changing so fast, and then you've got equipment replacement. There is always, even in a mature or an emerging energy program, these typical energy efficiency projects are still going to be a cornerstone of what we do and what contributes to our energy savings. We do still have some of the, what you might call more of the exciting ones, you know, like the fuel switching or the alternative energy, but those are really less than 10% of our energy projects that we do as a corporation worldwide. But those are the ones that people want those big glossy pictures in the front of the reports. But I just, speaking very frankly here on what we have and what we do. So the how, we make use of energy audits in states or in territories where we can partner with our utilities with their energy efficiency programs. We make use of their energy audits. We incorporate this into standards, and that's something that we're really pushing right now, is getting energy and efficiency into our facility standards, our paint standards, and really trying to make it so that, as you said, we're not going back and redoing this again. Our energy projects need to meet the same financial hurdle rates as all other capital investment projects. So, you know, we have brought to our executive council, hey, look what Lockheed Martin is doing, and look what PepsiCo is doing, look what Frito-Lay is doing, and look what Microsoft is doing. And, you know, and our executives look at that. Gated capital, no, money's fungible, lower hurdle rate, no, well, you got to compete. And we've talked through with our seniors all these alternative eco-funding methods that we see other companies doing. But at this point in time for John Deere, our projects need to compete just like every other capital investment project for the company. We make use of partnerships, trade organizations, whether it's at the state level, federal level, or CII, I should have spelled these out, Confederation of Indian Industry, for our facilities in India. I mentioned about utility energy efficiency programs. Here in the state of Iowa, we have 6 factories that use Mid-American's energy efficiency programs, and I know you're going to hear more about that next, and 2 factories that use Alliance program. And we have John, one of our facilities is going to receive an award in about 3 weeks, and I thought I would highlight that here today just as an example, try to pull in a few examples. So our John Deere Dubuque Works facility, they you know, again, you think these are not the big exciting projects, but these are great projects that happen. Our Dubuque Works facility, they retrofitted 105 of their rooftop HVAC units with new controls and VFDs. Financial results, they had over 7 million kilowatt hours in electrical savings, and with utility rebates, they had less than 1.5 years simple payback. And it was, you know, as you see those and you think, why didn't we do that sooner? You know, there's still those projects that are out there, and over 6,000 tons of greenhouse gas reduction.
Joanne? Mind if I ask, what is your typical financial hurdle?
So we don't publicly state what our financial hurdle, but we could, and it changes by division. But you could say that less than 2 years rule is the simple way of looking at it. On the manufacturing side, this has really been an area that we've been trying to put a lot of focus, because we have a very mature process, stronger relationship with inside our company, with our facilities engineering side. But we've really been focusing on our manufacturing side. Our major processes are weld, machining, paint, and assembly. So in addition to standards, where we've been putting best practices in our standards, we also have competencies for weld, machining, paint, assembly that do best practice sharing. And technology, so technology innovation in this area. We're looking out from an energy standpoint and water efficiency as well. What are the innovation paths that are going to help support paint, assembly, and machining as far as energy and water efficiency? And we've got a program around that with university research and pilots and testing. And so, I gave this just a quick example here. So paint, we operate over 70 paint systems within John Deere. And those could be from spray paint to e-coat to powder paint. And, but all paint systems have pre-treatment, application, and curing and drying. And within all of our different types of paint applications, we have a lot of opportunities for energy best practices. And one of the things, for example, on the pre-treatment side, you look at the example on the bottom, changing the spacing on some of the nozzle applications reduces pump energy by 50%, reduces evaporation, heating energy. So it's things like this that we put into our paint standards. So that's our big thing. We're trying to get all of these best practices that all of our paint design engineers know and get them in our paint standards. I'm going to show this, I'm going to click through here. When we're also talking about manufacturing, sometimes it's not the high-tech ideas. This is an assembly conveyor design that we have used in one of our India tractor facilities. It's zero power, utilizes gravity and pneumatic systems. And I think this, I'll click quickly. But it's, you almost think it's so simple, why didn't we think about this earlier? But this again is innovation, and we're using it in India, but then you think to yourself, gosh, could we be using it here in the US as well? It's working well in India. I'm going to switch real quick. I'm just trying to give some examples. Education and communication. The poster here on the left is from one of our factories in Germany. I love the picture of the dog, so I try to use that one. We have factories that do posters, they do their TVs, they do table tents. I call this energy etiquette flyers. If you can see this up here, we have facilities that they have their security guards conduct audits at night, and they will leave these very polite little tickets that'll say, this is a power ticket. So if you've left your computer on, you've left your task lighting on, something at your workstation, security guards will leave a little ticket on your workstation, kind of as an awareness. Something was left on. So we call it power etiquette or energy etiquette tickets, just to help raise that awareness. Low cost, no cost, and Brad talked a lot about this, and I just pulled out a few examples. So within John Deere, we have a continuous improvement program, CI, what we call. Sounded very similar. Some people might nod their heads if you have this as well. You have employee programs where you look for these opportunities on the shop floor. And our CI programs have been focused on safety and quality and efficiency. And 2 years ago, we started to put environmental in our CI program. And so it could be a water project or an energy project. And so, these are just some of the initial, I just grabbed 2 examples, just things where, we put new washers in, but we never set the timers. So, the washers were running when they didn't need to be. That was over $11,000 a year in savings. Or we had a mist collector over a grinder. They weren't connected, so the mist collector would be on when the grinder was off. So they wired those. We have employee teams turning in CI projects where there might still be task lighting, but that machine moved 2 years ago, and that task lighting is still on over that area, and that machine's been gone. So just really like simple ideas that our teams are starting to come up with. But I put on here, and I give for Bruce is here in the front row, and I really wanted to come today to meet Bruce as well. We really want to pilot this energy treasure hunt idea. And this is something that Toyota really pioneered. I used to work at GE. GE was doing treasure hunts, and that's really, that focused CI event on energy. And so Bruce is going to come help us do a pilot at one of our facilities here in Iowa in May. Very excited about this. And you would think, hey, you already got it somewhat in your CI program, but I think we have so much more opportunity and to make sure we've got the right tools and for our employees on quantifying what they're doing. So I'm very excited. We're going to pilot this, see how it goes. And it's kind of just interesting. We had the meeting with the unit that's piloting this treasure hunt concept with us, and where Bruce was sharing this is what it is and this is how we'll go about it. And we had the CI coordinator of that unit in on the call, and he was real quiet and he listened during the whole thing. And we had facilities, and we had environmental, and one operations manager. And then at the end, the CI coordinator said, well, any questions? I said, well, this is just a rapid CI event focused on energy. He's like, I thought when you said treasure hunt, it was going to be this big different thing. And I'm like, no, I said, whatever you need to call it to make it successful at your factory, I'll go with it. So we're going to change the name to a rapid CI focused on energy, and I hope we have good success. So I will just, one of the last things I wanted to mention, Deere, from a new facility standpoint, we really have been in a growth phase over the past 4 years. We've made very public announcements about new investments for factories in Brazil and India, in China, and it was one of those things that we knew we had a lot of great design expertise, but we wanted to make sure that we were going to do it right up front, going into especially a major growth phase. So we had a project that we did that we designed an upfront design tool. We took a look at benchmarking what tools Deere uses in our new facility to design, what were industry best practices, and we partnered with HOK, an architectural firm, and AEI engineering. And we basically designed our own, it's an internal tool that has a series of filters on it that we can say if we are going to build in this location anywhere in the world, what phase that project is in, what type, is it a manufacturing, does it have paint, is it assembly, is it a warehouse, is it an office? And what group are you that might be using this tool? Are you environmental? Are you the project manager? And it comes out with a list of strategies, design strategies from a natural resource standpoint for that facility. And we have over 1,000 natural resource efficiency design strategies in there that range from paint to machining to lighting, and energy is probably about half of those strategies in that tool. And this has been something that we rolled this out, and our seniors said we wished we had this years ago. We have rolled this out for projects that have more than $4 million in facility spend as a requirement. But now that this has been in place for 2 years now, we're starting to get requests on how do you modify this tool and how can I use it for a project that is less than $4 million. And how can I, it's really big, and how do I get it for just my project? So that's something that we're trying to work through next. But this has been something that's almost been a cart before the horse in certain circumstances when we were working with all of our internal groups on their design strategies, because everyone has their best practices. I mean, there are pockets in our company where it's just, the knowledge is phenomenal, but how do we institutionalize it? And we go to some areas and all of this was already in their standards, like lighting controls, lighting systems, all of their energy efficiency best practices was already in their standards. And then we go to the paint group or the weld group, and we had to sit with them and get it all from the experts. We put it in the design tool, and now they're like, oh, we got to put that in our standards. So we've had some cart before the horses, and we've gone back and forth, but this has been a very key tool for us, and now we're trying to figure out how we customize it and use it elsewhere. But from an energy efficiency standpoint, it's been very helpful in our program, so I thought I would share that as well. So I really talked about our facility side, and I'll just wrap up a few key comments. You know, it's a journey. We have some facilities that we've got excellent programs and practices, and some that are really starting their programs. We're globally competitive, so all costs matter. And energy, whether no matter what the spend, it is very important to us. We have regional variations. I like to say there's always opportunity. Like I said, there's still the lighting and the motors in the VFD projects. It's never easy, and we need to prioritize. So that's probably another area in our company that we're really working on right now is how do we prioritize, where do we spend our capital and our resources. Within John Deere, we've had structurally shared services groups emerge. I don't know if that's a familiar term, but instead of having a facilities engineering team, for example, at every factory that has mechanical, electrical, and civil expertise, we have shared services now. So there's a mechanical engineering shared service and an electrical shared service, and those folks can sit anywhere, but depending on the project, they can be deployed to any factory. So that one factory doesn't have to keep all that expertise at their factory. So one of the things that we're working on now is, so from a company standpoint, how do we prioritize so that the company is taking our shared services and putting them where we have the most impact from a project standpoint. So I think just a few other points. The other thing we're really focusing on is how we're integrating it with our business processes. I never want an energy scorecard or an energy program that looks different than anything else that our managers are looking at. I want it to look exactly like the operations template they're already looking at. I want energy on that. I want energy integrated. I don't want energy to be separate at all. I want it to be part of every other process that John Deere has. And that's, we're vigilant on that. And then, again, we always just have to communicate what we're doing. We have a big company, and it's probably one of our other biggest hurdles is how do we get those best practices around. So just thought I would share some concluding comments on that. So I know my comments were kind of across the board as far as energy management at a company. I did want to add here, I know we're going into discussion on Iowa Edge, and I look forward to more comments on that. You know, I've kind of joked, we've been a captive audience today for EPA's Energy Star program. John Deere is not a member of EPA Energy Star, and we're not a member of any of the DOE's Save Energy Now or Better Building program. And so there's, we have a huge supply base in the state of Iowa, and I really hope this EDGE program can help, small and medium sized enterprises and help give them a lot of those tools. I do worry a little bit with my corporate hat on that if I have a facility in Iowa that is going to have corporate goals, and then if they get an Iowa EDGE goal, and then if they get an EPA Energy Star goal and a DOE Safe Leaders Now goal, I do worry a little bit about that. So I think it's to keep the dialogue and to get some industrials on the panel for the Iowa, or the advisory board for the Iowa EDGE program. So I think there's just a lot of best practices even today, and I hope we keep this sharing them. So thank you.
Okay, we're going to move to questions. If anybody else has any further questions for Joanne? Well, we've got one from Matt here. Did you have a question?
Oh, I like that you're still that you're advocating for the old school HVAC. The not sexy stuff.
You almost feel embarrassed about that now. You go to these meetings and you feel you need to have that big, I don't know. Yeah. energy bling photo that you got.
I feel like maybe, but, so my question is that I appreciate you were saying the energy projects need to have to meet the same financial hurdles as other projects. Do you have the ability to blend objectives, I guess? And there was discussion earlier about the ancillary benefits. I've seen personally a lot of times things that say energy also, like maintenance costs are just as significant in that change.
I mean, those are part of the business case as well. I mean, there's other financial savings that can be part of that, and that gets included in the business case.
How do you, what's the process or the procedure for realizing both?
So, I mean, O&M savings are included. You have your capital costs savings. There's how do we realize?
Just one big pot of money and one big pot of savings and so that evaluate that again as far as the project viability.
Every facility has their own capital budgeting, or their own capital that they can spend. And they have categories of projects that they can spend on, new product development, compliance, and all other. And there's, like any other company, there's a budgeting process that happens and prioritization. And you could still have a energy project that has great return that still might not get funded because there might be a new product development or a compliance project that needs that capital that year. So, I mean, but it happens at the unit, and it's a very detailed prioritization. I ain't quite used to that.
Kind of expand on that, you were talking about some of the standards that you develop, and there might be some projects that don't have a cost associated with it, but are improving something that might be in line with your standards, like better light levels, improving safety, doing something you can't put a number to. Is that part of your compliance bucket that you're talking about, or is that just something that's great, but I'm not going to put a number to it, it might help sell a project, but hard to really put a number to it?
Yeah, we don't have a tool or a way that says if you are able to improve your safety rate a certain percent, you get to put so much into your cash flow analysis for the project. I mean, the soft intangibles are not counted.
I was just wondering if your standards, like if you have standards for lights, like light levels, does that help drive energy efficiency, or is that something different? Would you not have a standard for that?
I'll take it as a stab. So, as Joanne said, the project has to stand on its own, and corporate is not doing the financials for each of these factory projects for 70 factories around the world. But generally, the process is to include the multiple drivers for the project. So I don't know what others find in this room, but we don't do many projects that are just like energy only.
Right.
These are typically the energy portion of a much bigger project, or the HVAC project, I suppose you saw for Dubuque Works there. That was pretty clearly a lot of energy, and that so power is related to speed cubed, right? Well, so that's savings, but so are vibration issues. They're related to speed cubed. Okay, so if you spend 70% of your hours in the year operating at half speed or lower, that's a tremendous reduction in the wear and tear, and so that's, couplings and bearings and everything else. So, do I know that each one of these gets identified for every project type? No, I doubt it. But that's a good kind of communication piece that we should be including here. Because sometimes when we talk about these projects, let's not just talk about them as energy, let's not just talk about them as a capacity improvement. We can get 10% more out of the same piece of equipment. And let's not just talk about it as the thing's old, it's got to be replaced. I think all of those need to go into the business case.
You see that more written up in the business case, but it's not in
Yeah.
the financial analysis.